Once again, Maiduguri is in the news again. Last, we had the stories of the attacks on military installations, attacks that took the lives of several military officers, including middle cadre and senior officers of the Nigerian army. And only last night, we heard that the Boko Haram or ISWAP, or the two groups working together, had attacked a community Dala within Maiduguri metropolis. And of course, that appears to be a totally new high in the activities of Boko Haram. We also had the last few hours that there have been two explosives in Maiduguri, two explosions that were believed to have been detonated by the Boko Haram or ISWAP or whichever of the groups jointly or separately they are attacking that part of the country. And they have been recorded deaths of several people. The number of people killed so far is not known, but the police have confirmed the killings and the bomb blasts. The Borno State Ministry of Information and Internal Security issued a statement that was curiously signed by the public relations officer of the Nigerian police. The statement read as follows: following reports of a suspected explosion at Maiduguri Monday Market and the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital gate at about 7:20 p.m., joint security operatives and emergency responders have been deployed. Police explosive ordnance unit base 13 Maiduguri is on ground. Residents are advised to remain calm where assessments continue. These unfortunate incidents are happening at a time when there have been fears that the insurgents are increasing in strength and may be planning to do more havoc than is already known. A senator representing the state in a statement said that half of the state is controlled by Boko Haram. The senator representing Borno Central, Baba Kaka Garbe, has said that the story that the insurgents have degraded is nothing but a lie, as the terror group is still holding about 50% of the troubled Borno State. Garbe, who spoke to journalists only last Saturday during a condolence visit to Dalori village, where 65 persons were reportedly killed by the insurgents, Boko Haram and the Nigerian nation are presently administering about the same territories in the state. And I quote from the Punch newspaper: I feel highly demoralized, devastated in the sense that this is the village we came during the election and they were going about their normal activities. According to him, they actually got a signal a few days before the attack that the insurgents were likely to attack them. They reported to the constituted authority, but nothing was done. Of course, it is frightening that the Boko Haram has again entered Maiduguri metropolis. And to be fair, the governor of the state, Professor Zulum, has been crying about the growing strength of the insurgents. Efforts had been made in the past to get the people who had fled the state and gone to neighboring states or even to the Republic of Cameroon to come back. And part of the groups that came back were the people that resettled back at Ngoshe in Goza local government area of the state. And these people were attacked. 300 of them kidnapped, soldiers were killed. But of course, these stories just open up what we as a people in the country appear to be hiding from the public, namely the fact that the Boko Haram and these insurgents have actually not been defeated. These insurgents have remained strong, despite the fact that there have been serious efforts, including the purchase of ammunition, several new platforms, and several innovations that have been done. Now, the warnings that the governor has been giving that these insurgents are increasing in their attacks and in their sad push are actually unraveling, as we see more deadly attacks, coordinated attacks, and of course, very devastating attacks. We are now losing more senior military officers, a brigadier, colonels, majors. To be clear also, the fact of the matter is that we need to clarify ourselves as to the intentions, the strategies, and the reasons where these terrorists have continued to take over many more communities. And in the case of Borno State, it is not just northern Borno that is affected by Boko Haram and the ISWAP. Of course, for a long time now, northern Borno sectoral district has almost been emptied of people. Of course, military installations and maybe a few major towns may still be existing as fortified territories, but the greater part of northern Borno for a very long time does not appear to have been in the control of the Nigerian government. And the people who were driven from those places have not, in the main, actually gone back. Borno metropolis is the most populated part of Borno State. And now it does appear that with the frequency of attacks around Maiduguri metropolis, may only have people living within the metropolis actually, as many people may have to move from the outskirts back into the town or find their way to get out of the state. The southern part of the state has not been left out. Damboa area is still a no-go area. As a matter of fact, some of the residents of Chibok that we spoke to said that if you stay in Chibok, you will be able to see where Boko Haram insurgents are operating. They have almost surrounded the Chibok town. And so it might very well be that the insurgents, the Boko Haram and the ISWAP, working together or separately, may be controlling actually a larger part of Borno State than the part that government controls. This is tragic because one of the major criticisms that President Goodluck Jonathan had against him was his inability to rein in the terrorists, rescue the Chibok girls, and ensure that the territories that were lost were recovered. Now, after President Muhammadu Buhari's 8 years and President Bola Ahmed 3 years, going 4 years, we're having a very big and major reversal. Many more territories are being lost to these terrorists. And the saddening part of it, or the alarming part of it, is that the terrorists are knocking on the doors of Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State and the former capital of the northeastern state. This, of course, should be worrying to anyone that cares about what is happening in Nigeria. Of course, the attacks on Monday market bomb blasts in Borno are not new. They highlight things that were happening between 2011 and 2015. Now we appear to be back to that era when Boko Haram will be terrorizing people living within Maiduguri. And of course, the fear that everybody should be attentive to is what will be the implication of Boko Haram. Let's take a look at the history of Boko Haram's attacks within Maiduguri from 2009 to this year. Of course, for those who know, Maiduguri is not just the capital of Borno State, it is the symbolic heart of Nigeria's war against Boko Haram and later ISWAP. From 2006 to 2009, the city and its immediate outskirts endured uprising, suicide bombings, arcade attacks, bombings, university strikes, rockets, and renewed urban explosions. And for instance, on December 24, 2010, the violence sharpened into direct attacks on religious targets inside Maiduguri. 2 churches were attacked on Christmas Eve, killing 6 people. It was a signal at that time that the city's civilian and symbolic spaces were now squarely in crosshairs. In 2011, Boko Haram escalated dramatically. In June, attacks hit a church again. Police force killing at least 14. Weeks later, Air Garden was attacked and 25 people killed. Through that year, market checkpoints, weddings, mosques, adjoining areas were repeatedly struck. By December alone, that 2011, multiple bombings across the city killed 20, showing a pattern of urban destabilization. On June 1, 2014, a bomb tore through a football viewing center in Maiduguri, killing 14 and injuring at least 12. As you could see, even leisure and shared civic life had become vulnerable. Then came 2015, one of Maiduguri's worst years. In January, a child suicide bomber hit a busy market, killing at least 16. In March, 4 blast ripped through the city, killing at least 50 people. Days later, another suicide attacker killed at least 12. In June that year, there was a bomb blast again at a meat market that killed 50 more people. And Boko Haram has shown its strength, that it actually meant business. Again, religious sites were not spared. In May 2015, a bomb exploded in a mosque in Maiduguri. Reuters news agency confirmed the blast, though the final casualty figures were unclear in the reporting that was available. The uncertainty itself reflects a wider problem in documenting conflict in real time. As a matter of fact, many of the conflicts, many of the attacks have gone unreported because of how they happened and where they happened. From late 2025 to 2016, the pressure spread from the city into its immediate outskirts. In January 2016, Boko Haram raided Dalori in Maiduguri, killed 65 people, and that Dalori attack showed that a heavily defended urban center could still be encircled through violence by Boko Haram. 2 months later, in March 2016, two female suicide bombers attacked worshippers in Umarari, about 6 kilometers from Maiduguri city center. 22 people were killed and 18 injured. In November 2016 again, security guards stopped a would-be suicide bomber trying to enter an IDP camp around Maiduguri. In January 2017, Maiduguri was hit. Suicide bombing struck the staff quarters area, killing a professor and a child and injuring 17. The attack was deeply symbolic, of course. A university mosque and a place of worship were all targeted. In 2018, Reuters referenced attacks in Maiduguri and its immediate surroundings that killed at least 15 people. In June 2019, triple suicide bombing in Konduga, about 25 kilometers from Maiduguri, killed more than 30 people at a football screening venue. In 2021, method shifted again. Insurgents pounded Maiduguri with rockets or rocket-propelled grenades, killing at least 10 people and injuring dozens. The threat reappeared again in 2024. A bomb at a cafe in Kawori, a few kilometers from Maiduguri, killed at least 16 people. In December 2025, an apparent suicide bombing at a mosque in Maiduguri killed 5 people and injured 30. On the 16th, again on Monday, multiple blasts were reported in Maiduguri, Monday Market, the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, Kateri, and the post office area. The military said it had repelled the attackers from the outskirts. So you can see that the story of Maiduguri is therefore not one of a linear decline. It's a story of adaptation. First came uprising and localized militancy, then came dense urban terror, churches, mosques, markets, schools, weddings, university, and later the threat shifted towards rockets and raids. A small respite for Maiduguri, and then the attackers are back again. Maiduguri is back in the news. And now the question now is, will Maiduguri survive these sustained attacks? Attacks that have taken the lives of so many servicemen, attacks that have led to most of the rural areas in the state being emptied of people. Fact of the matter is that the different interpretations, they lead different understanding of the crisis has made it impossible to have a proper government strategy and program to end the insurgency. And of course, the insurgency that started from the northeast seemed to have spread. By the time President Muhammad was leaving, it was not just the northeast that was in trouble. We had several parts of the north central. We had even states further down, such as Taraba State. We have states like Nasarawa, Plateau, and Benue being embroiled in several attacks and killings that were attributed to Fulani headers. And the interpretation by government, and even by this government, is that there is a resource conflict between headers and farmers. And then we had banditry, or what is called banditry in the north, killings and kidnaps of schoolgirls, very large number, having learned from the payoff that were done in the case of Chibok schoolgirls and the ones of Dapchi schoolgirls. the bandits in Maiduguri in the northwest, maybe part of the groups that were dispersed by the military from the northeast took over parts of the northwest and began terror moves that terrorized communities, destroyed so much, captured so many schoolgirls, and so many prominent people killed. Today, however, the crisis has expanded southwards. We have the several local governments in Niger State, as well as parts of Kwara State, up to Oyo State, the Wawa area from Niger State down to the areas that border Benin Republic, being occupied by terror groups, some franchise, you may say, of Boko Haram. Now, the famous or the popular interpretation in government circles is that these groups are working as different groups, but intelligence and analysts are beginning to see that there is now a link, that there may actually have been some efforts by some groups to unite or bring back the relationship that existed between the Boko Haram and ISWAP, make them to work, to cooperate. There are also reports and analysis that are beginning to show that the so-called headers have actually been incorporated into the agenda of Al-Qaeda in the Sahel, and they may be working together on the instructions of the paymasters, whoever they are from the Sahel. Could this be the plan by this group to create a caliphate in the Sahel that includes part of northern Nigeria? Well, let me have your take on the security situation in Nigeria and the recent attacks on Maiduguri, and what will be the implication of a sustained attack on Maiduguri. My name is Rumande Shawulu. This is your update from the other side.